Hello, everyone. This is the Paint the Town Red podcast. I am your host, Chance Bowen, and today we have some saddening news for you. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk was assassinated while speaking at Utah Valley University during the opening of his America Comeback Tour. He was struck in the neck by a rifle shot reportedly fired from the rooftop. The FBI has released photos of the person of interest and announced a $100,000 reward for any information leading to his arrest. The event has ignited intense debate over the rise of political violence in America. So, a lot of different influencers and people are giving you their take on the Charlie Kirk assassination. You've got two major groups of people, the Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats are using this assassination to argue for gun control. You have the the Republicans that are arguing for mental health checkups and to increase our mental health awareness. What I'm going to do today is argue that this assassination was complex and it was done by a foreign nation. It was done by perhaps the intelligence community for a given reason. Now, today I'm going to try and speculate what that reason is. So let's take a look at what the facts are. The shot was a 200-yard shot away from the rooftop of what looks to be a 4 to 5-story building, going all the way to where Charlie Kirk was, which was in below ground level, below the ground. It was in kind of a sunken area, which wouldn't quite be the easiest shot to take. Not the hardest shot, but definitely not the easiest. Definitely doesn't seem to me that a liberal with blue hair who has no experience with firearms and actually hates guns would be able to accomplish this shot. But then, to make it even worse, they escaped. They were on the 5-story building, they shot Charlie, and then they escaped. This is not easy to do. How did they escape? There was a man on the ground level who served as a distraction. Okay? So he admitted saying that he did the shot, and the cops were distracted, and they took and arrested him while the person who actually committed the shot was able to flee. This is something that is done This is done in the intelligence community when they are committing assassinations. And this has happened many times in history. For instance, Raymond Lee Harvey in 1974, him and 4 others attempted to take the life of Jimmy Carter. Now, this was a failed attempt, but they had many people on the ground level that were shooting cap guns in order to distract the police officers so the police would flood to them and not the person who was actually making the shot on Jimmy Carter. Now, this was obviously technical. So now let's speculate what foreign nation and what group, other than just people who were politically motivated because they didn't like Charlie because, he was anti-abortion. Now, we know, but to talk about that, we need to talk about where the Republican Party is today. And the Republican Party, there are two big groups, pretty much the under 40-year-olds and the over 40-year-olds, okay? The younger Republicans and the older Republicans. Now, out of the younger Republicans, there are two main sides of the party. And they have a few key differences, but they're mostly agreed. They agree on most things, on all things, but they have two big disagreements. One of them being that Israel is a good ally. Israel is our ally, and that Jewish people do not control America. That is what we'll say, just call it the Charlie Kirk side of the younger Republicans believes. Then there is the other side, which we can just classify as pretty much the Nick Fuentes group of people, which believe that Jewish people are controlling America, Israel is not our friends, and there's another aspect of it too, that America is a white nation, and that it's for European-descended people who are Christian, okay? The Charlie Kirk side doesn't quite believe that. Although they are Christian, although they are white, they believe that anyone that is born in America can become an American as long as your principles are the same. And this is two big differences within the groups of people. Now, recently there has been a major push by the Nick Fuentes crowd, and it's pretty much neck and neck on those two groups of people. And in my opinion, I feel that the Nick Fuentes group is starting to take over. Well, in my opinion, Charlie was beginning to actually turn a page and join the group of people that are questioning Israel and Jewish rule and designating America as a white Christian nation. Now, why do I say that? Well, if you look at his most recent posts and things that he was posting on his own Instagram and interviews he was doing, it would lead you to believe that. So let's go through some of these right now. In an interview with Ben Shapiro, this was last month, by the way, Charlie Kirk, and I quote, said, "Come on, Ben, you know the Jews control the media." Now, he was doing it in a sarcastic manner, but just after this, he had said that Benjamin Netanyahu had made a claim that you can't be MAGA if you're not pro-Israel. Charlie Kirk pushed up against this and said, "I don't agree with that, Ben." Ben then gave a long-winded answer, as people of his ethnicity do often, and said that that's pretty much not what Benjamin Netanyahu was meaning by that statement. Then, fast forward, we have an interview between Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly, where Charlie Kirk was expressing his frustration with the Jewish community by calling him an anti-Semite for just hosting a debate between Dave Smith and another pro-Israeli Republican. Now, he was saying that he feels like he can't even criticize Israel as much as Israelis or as much as Jews because of the position he holds within this political environment that we're in. Megyn Kelly then followed up with, saying that she agrees with what he's saying and that it's saddening and questionable. Also, he was talking about the recent Epstein stuff going on, and in talking about that, he was bringing up how Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a secret agent for Mossad, or the Israeli government. Now, this is something that Charlie Kirk would not typically say, and this is something that you would hear amongst the Nick Fuentes crowd a lot more. But Charlie Kirk began to say some of these things. I'll move on to something a little more on the nose. There was a secondhand source by a Twitter account by the name of Jackson Hickle, someone who was close to Charlie, saying that Charlie was telling him that he was scared that if he criticized Israel, they would kill him. Now, those stick out to me. And a lot of the establishment people who are in the Republican Party will scoff at all of those things. And they will scoff at me and they will scoff at you and say, "Oh, come on, the Jews do everything. Oh, come on." But let's look at this, okay? Because this is the other side of it. Perhaps what sticks out to me more than anything about what Charlie did recently was a post that he made on Instagram talking about what makes up a nation. And that is the 3 P's: place, principle, and the most important one, people. Now, this is a major difference from the normal establishment Republican ideology that is known. They will admit that place through the borders and principles are important, but they never seem to admit that people is a part of that equation. Charlie Kirk then goes on to say that if you were to take Japan and you moved all the Japanese people out and you put in Muslims and you made those Muslims believe everything that the Japanese people did about their government, that would still not be Japan anymore. It wouldn't, because the people are an intrinsic part, an intrinsic piece of the nation's makeup. Now, this is very different. And this is very different from the sector of Republicans who are backed up, by the way, by the Jewish billionaires who want our country to be a non-ethnic state. They want Israel to be an ethnically pure state, a Jewish state, but they fight for everything to make America a non-ethnically Jewish place because they themselves are not ethnically American. They are Jewish. They are not white. They are Jewish. And they want our country to be made up of many different minorities so that way they can feel at home in America and they can easily control our nation. Now, if you hear this and you go, "This is just majorly conspiratorial. This is majorly conspiratorial and I can't really listen to this." Well, you are obviously not very well read on this subject. And instead of being mad at you and saying that you're the enemy, I'm not going to do that. Like you do to us, like you do to our community. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I think Charlie Kirk would have done. And I'd like to have debates and discussions with you on this topic and to try and bring my fellow white Christian people that are of the Republican Party on board with us, with Charlie himself, who started to turn the corner in his final days. And that's why I speculate who killed him. Now, you may saying things like the liberals did it and that they're probably going to come up with some transgender person who did it and all these different things. But In Charlie's last days, he obviously had made a turn in the big, you could say he was questioning Jewish people, yes, but the big one is admitting that the people aspect of a nation. That's what the Republican Party won't do. It's time we do that because we can't really afford to not do that. They are killing us and we are at war right now. And if you can't admit that, then you are going to be ran over and we will lose this war. Fastest way to lose a war is to not know you're in one when you are. Now, locally, in my local party, we have people that are of the older generation, the establishment generation, that are not giving validation to Charlie Kirk's movement and who Charlie Kirk was. And that annoys me deeply. We want to put a Charlie Kirk pop up, a cardboard cutout at a Kern County Republican booth here in town. But that was told that they don't want to do that because they said it's tacky. And I know these people's beliefs. They believe that the younger people, we don't vote. So who cares about them? And they want to not put a Charlie Kirk cutout because they believe it's tacky, is their exact words. And to that, I say that this is disgusting. And instead of attacking the people who are controlling us or the liberals or doing anything to help our party in any way, they spend their time instead attacking us and the younger Republicans. To me, this is saddening because they don't want to see their power go away. They want to hold on to their power. And they can't let younger people have any power because if they do, that would mean they have less. And they are unable to see outside of anyone that's younger than 90 years old. And they, like I said, use excuses that we don't vote. To me, this is sickening and saddening. So I hope that you reach out to the local party in Kern County and tell them, please let us put up a Charlie Kirk cutout at the booth to represent Charlie because he was a Republican and he's the one who helped get Trump elected. He might be responsible for the reason why Trump got elected in the first place. And we all owe Charlie big time. And this is coming from somebody who disagrees with Charlie and who's made fun of Charlie on many different instances. The fact that we can't put a cardboard cutout of Charlie at our local booth is sickening and disgusting. And this is why everybody's fed up with the local party in town. So I hope you can contact them and try to convince them to at least let us have a cardboard cutout of Charlie at our local booth. Thank you. This is the Paint the Town Red podcast. We hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. RIP Charlie Kirk.